Welcome to Beyond Mindset Limits with Tisha Marie Cain. Here, we explore how unlocking your mindset can pave the way for unlimited success. Discover how to create opportunities through legal challenges and transform your business and life with effective public relations strategies. Get ready to elevate your journey and maximize your potential. Now, let's welcome your host, Tisha Marie Cain.
Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Beyond Mindset Limits, where I am your host, Tisha Marie Cain. I am an executive counsel. I am a radio show host. I'm an expert mediator and communicator. I'm a breakthrough mindset coach, and I am a clinical hypnotherapist, a #1 best-selling international author and artist. I'm recognized for my work all around the world. I help Fortune 500 executives, visionary leaders, and high-performing entrepreneurs, guiding them to unlock their influence, align with their purpose, and create lasting impact. I have a unique blend of legal expertise, leadership strategy, and transformational coaching. I help individuals and organizations rewire the subconscious, release emotional weight, and elevate their relationship with money, power, and self-worth. And thank you for coming to the show today, because today, this one's going to be good. It's going to be a really good conversation. So I wanted to talk about how something that's really, really close to my heart. And today's show is called Having Discernment, right? And I believe that we are entering a new era of leadership, a new era of coaching, a new era of healing and transformation. And this is Beyond Mindset Limits. We're just not talking about mindset today. We're talking about sovereignty. We're talking about ethics. We're talking about the sacred relationship of leadership. We're talking about the future transformation, and we are calling it higher. So thank you and welcome to the show. I'm really excited because I have gone through several different coaching programs throughout my life to heal from past wounds that I had. And I want to talk about that because being in the new era, in the new earth, we are building and we are creating. And this is where charisma is not going to be enough. A big room is not going to be enough. A powerful offer, a breakthrough on stage, it's just not enough anymore. We're going to have to create what so many people are calling in the new earth. They're calling transformation and conversations up to a higher calling of ethics. We have to talk about who's leading the room. We have to talk about congruence today, alignment, subconscious responsibility. We have to talk about the difference between helping someone access their truth and projecting a truth onto them. And before I go any further, I want to say this very clearly. This episode is not about calling anyone out. No. This episode is not about naming names either. This episode is not about attacking the coaching industry, because what I've seen in the last couple decades is ethics really come right up to the line, either crossing boundaries or coming so close to the line that's why I wanted to talk about it today. This episode is about naming a pattern that I believe many people have experienced, but not always had language to explain. And that's why I have a radio show, because I get to put language behind how you're feeling. So let's dive in. Because sometimes we walk into transformational rooms with our hearts wide open. We are there because we want to grow. We're there because we want to heal. We're there because we want to expand. And we're there because there is a version of us that we know is waiting on the other side of our current identity. And when we are in those rooms, we are vulnerable. Even if we are powerful, even if we're successful, even if we're educated, even if we have emotional intelligence on board, even if we're trained in the work ourselves. I know this because I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and this is the work that I do. I understand the subconscious mind. I understand the critical factor. I understand how powerful language is. I understand how quickly a person can move into a heightened state of suggestibility when the room is charged, and when the leader is powerful, and when the group is watching, and when emotion is present. And yet, I realized something this past weekend. I recently had an experience that showed me something at an even deeper level than what I've been able to access in the past. It showed me the difference between transformation and projection. It showed me the difference between being opened and being overridden. It showed me the difference this past weekend between someone helping you find your truth and someone assigning meaning to your life from their own frame. Because when you look through a frame, that gets narrowed, right? So if you look through a frame, just looking at me from an executive council perspective, you miss that my nails are hot pink and I'm also a published artist. If you look at me from a radio show host perspective, you missed that I'm a clinical hypnotherapist on the end. If you look at me like an expert mediator, you miss that I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. You miss all of this because your frame has been narrowed into one thing. And that distinction is everything, because the subconscious mind is a sacred ground. And I don't know if you can hear the passion in my voice today, because the subconscious cannot be ghostwritten by anyone. It's a sacred ground. It's not a playground. It's not a sales tool. It's not a stage prop. It's not a place where someone gets to walk in, assign meaning, and call it a breakthrough. When someone is emotionally open, the leader has a responsibility to be clean. Clean with their words, clean with their power, clean with their interpretation, clean with their energy, clean with their offer, clean with the way that they hold another person's identity. Because when someone is in a heightened emotional state, especially in front of a room, their critical factor can soften. And let me break this down to you, because as a clinical hypnotherapist, I know about the critical factor. And basically, just for purposes here, like in hypnosis language, the critical factor is a hypnotherapy concept. It's the conscious analytical part of your mind that filters suggestions before they reach the subconscious. So you have your conscious mind on the top, you have your critical factor, it's a line in the middle, and then the subconscious brain. For those who, my husband's a neuroscience guru guy, right? So he's into neurofitness and neuroscience. So for him, it's the executive function. It's the cognitive load. It's the social pressure. It's the thing that predicts error. It's the emotional regulation. So that's for him. But for me, as a clinical hypnotherapist, the critical factor, it's basically the internal gatekeeper. It says, wait, is this the truth? Does this fit my values? Is this person projecting? Has this gone too far? Ordinary waking consciousness, the gatekeeper is active. Okay, so here's what's most important. For those of you who are not familiar with that term, it's that gatekeeper. So in hypnosis and deep transformation work, that softens. That critical factor softens so the person can access deeper truth. And that can be beautiful, and it can be healing. And this is why I work with executives all across the planet, because I know if we can bypass the critical factor and they can access their truth, the transformation can be life-changing. And there is an ethical line. And I'm talking to you about this today because I'm very congruent and I'm very ethical. And in ethical transformation, the critical factor softens by consent. In manipulation, the critical factor is bypassed by pressure. And this is the conversation that I want to have with you guys today. And this is what I'm passionate about talking to you today about. Because when someone is on stage, when the whole room is watching, when an authority figure is speaking, when emotions are high, when there's social proof, when there's an expensive program being offered, when the person wants to be coachable, when they do not want to appear defensive, when they're trying to stay open and receive the work, that person can become more suggestible than they realize. A person can be wide awake and still be in a trance field. And this is why, when you get on the highway and you step into your automobile and you're traveling down American soil and you're like, okay, I get from point A to point B. And you're like, oh, I'm already at point B. And I don't even remember how I got there. That's a trance field. That's a trance. That's hypnotherapy. That's hypnosis. And this is why the person leading the room must be congruent, must be aligned, and be ethical. Now, let me speak personally for a moment, because you know me, Miss Tisha Marie Cain, you guys have been listening for a while, and I am very authentic and I'm vulnerable because you know what? Life is hard, right? And it gets to be easy and we get to push easy buttons. So for a moment, I want to share something with you. I was recently in a transformational room and I went in all in. And this is what I've done. I've been in several coaching containers. And that's why I'm a coach, because I've learned from the best and I've learned from the rest, right? And I went in open and I went in willing. I went in ready to look at myself. Any stone left unturned, I was going to address it. And I'm not someone who is afraid of deep work. No. I'm not someone who is afraid to be challenged. No, I was trained in law school. I love to argue, right? My mama always told me, Tisha, you're going to be a great attorney someday, right? Because I love to argue. So challenge me, because you know why? I'll always do the right thing. And I spent my life inside transformation, inside law, inside stories, publishing, publicity, coaching, healing, and subconscious reprogramming. And I know what it means to be seen. And I certainly know what it means to be challenged. And I know what it means to have something reflected back to me that I did not want to look at. But there was a moment where I was brought into a process. And after I left the room, it was 2 hours after the seminar had completed up after the 3 days. It was 2 hours and I was angry. And I didn't know where the anger was coming from. I was trying to process, and being someone who in the past didn't love myself, I hated looking in the mirror. Now I have mirrors all over my home. In the past, I didn't want to confront myself. I hated myself. I worked on my psychic ability to be able to exit my body, astro travel, go out and use all of my clairs to be able to be in touch with the world. And what I realized was the moment I did the transformational work, the moment I looked within, the moment I went back to me to start feeling good enough, was the moment that I had the Holy Trinity come online, the mind, body, and spirit come online, and I was able to access more. So I loved being challenged, and what that brought up for me was anger. And I want to be very honest about this. Anger is not something I usually default to. I hardly ever in my life, because I've created a life that I love and enjoy, I hardly ever default to anger. I usually can feel annoyance pretty good, and I can usually feel frustration, and I feel disappointment, and I can feel discernment. But anger doesn't normally hit my emotional bandwagon like it did in the past, right? So when anger came up, I did not dismiss it. I did not immediately make someone else wrong either. And I also did not immediately make myself wrong either. I got curious. I started asking myself, oh my gosh, is this anger? Am I angry because something true was touched inside of me? Am I angry because I was defensive? Am I angry because I don't want to look at something? Or am I angry because something in that process was unclean? And after sitting with it, and I had some deep integration, I spent the whole next day deep in integration, deep looking at everything, processing it, really allowing my own inner wisdom to speak. And I realized something very profound. The anger was not because I was unwilling to be challenged. The anger was because my truth had not been invited forward. Meaning had been assigned to me. The external data points had been collected and turned into a story about my identity, about my motives, and about my supposed wounds. And that's different because there's a difference between someone saying, "What does this mean to you?" and someone saying, "This is what this means about you." There's a difference between someone saying, "Let's explore what's underneath this," and someone saying, "I already know what's underneath this." And there's a difference between someone helping you access your subconscious truth and someone projecting their narrative into your subconscious. And that distinction matters, especially for those of us doing transformational work. So as you can tell, and as you can hear the passion in my voice, I was angry because the coaching industry has gotten a bad rap. Sales has gotten a bad rap because people have crossed the line of ethics. Because ethical coaching does not strip someone of their authorship. And I know this. I hold the pin to my life. Now, to be completely transparent, I help people ghostwrite their books, right? I bring it in under their name. I help them. They give me the framework. I give them suggestions. We go back and forth, bantering what looks for them. And I help people ghostwrite their books. But when it comes to my life, in the past, people tried to ghostwrite my life. And heck no. Once I got clear, and this is the message for you guys to listen to too, getting so clear where discernment comes online, where discernment comes so far online that you don't even have to check up with your itty bitty crappy committee in your brain, right? Like before, I had this gut feelings and I would bring it into my gut and I'm like, ooh, that's not right. And then I'd have to bring it up to my mind and check and like, is that right? And then I'd bring it back down to my gut. So I'd do this 1, 2, 3, gut, mind, gut to see if it was okay. And now I'm so clear. I do all the diets. I watch what goes into my eyes. I watch what goes into my ears. I watch what goes into my mouth. I do all the diets. So I'm so clear. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I do more water and exercise and meditation and prayer. I do all of that so I can be clear because I have the authorship of my life. No one ever will rewrite the story to my life. And what I experienced in this transformational room was someone trying to ghostwrite my subconscious. Ethical coaching does not make the leader the highest authority over someone's inner world. Ethical coaching helps the person return to their own inner authority. And that's what I do. I am preaching and I'm a preacher and I'm a teacher because I believe in ethics. I believe in doing the right thing because there's a lot of powerful leaders out there. And there's a lot of powerful people leading powerful rooms. Some of them are brilliant. Some of them are deeply gifted. Some read energy, see patterns. Some move very quickly. But skill is not the same as ethics. Power is not the same as purity. Charisma is not the same as congruence. And intensity is not the same as truth. And that's what I want people to understand. Just because something feels big doesn't mean that it's clean. Just because someone cries doesn't mean that the facilitator was right. Just because someone is activated doesn't mean that they are healing. Just because someone disagrees does not mean they are resistant. And just because someone gets angry doesn't mean that their ego was exposed. Trust me, I know. Sometimes anger is not resistance. And it's not sometimes anger is discernment. And that's what happened for me. Sometimes anger is the body saying something was crossed. And anger is your soul saying, hey, wait a minute, this ain't mine. And sometimes anger is the subconscious saying, I did not consent to that installation. And sometimes anger for me, from a legal perspective, it's my whole legal team standing up and saying, objection, foundation, assumes facts, not in evidence. And that is exactly what I want to teach today. Because in my experience, the coaching industry has sometimes confused emotional intensity with transformation. And it has confused public exposure with breakthrough. It has confused pressure with leadership, confused compliance with healing, confused leaders' interpretations with the client's truth. And I believe we are moving into a time where that will no longer work. Not because people are weak, but because people are becoming more awake. They're becoming more sovereign, and they're becoming more discerning. And that is why it's so important to get clear, get on the diets, no drugs, no alcohol, meditate, pray. And I believe prayer is talking to God. And I believe meditation is listening to God. And whatever God means to you, God of your own understanding. In my house, we pray to Gus, God, universe, and spirit. We pray to all three because there is this holy trinity, the power of numbers, right? So they can be coachable and still say no. And they can be challenged and still reject projection. And they can receive truth without surrendering their authorship. And this is the new standard. Okay, so this is the new standard. I want to teach you guys that we really are being called to a higher code of conduct. And what I felt, I was very curious when anger came on board, because I was like, okay, anger is not something I really access anymore. In the past, it was. In the past, I would get really angry, right? Now I'm like, they're being dumb. I don't care. I can quickly dismiss them because they know not what they do. So what's fantastic about this is if you allow yourself to feel all the things, feel all of the emotions, so that you have access to your discernment. You won't have to do a gut check anymore. They lied to us, by the way. Your brain is not in your head. Your brain is in your guts. So I want to tell you that right now. And I want to come back. I want to take a little break. But before we do, I want to come back and I'm going to talk about congruence and walk you through that. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes from a few words from our sponsors. So stay tuned. Thanks, guys.
Did you know most people pay thousands of dollars more than they need to for legal services? That's why choosing the right team matters more than you think. With over 26 years of experience, Cain's Legal Support proudly serves California and the city of Las Vegas with personalized legal support. We handle everything from divorce mediation, family law, custody matters, document preparation, and landlord-tenant issues. Plus, Cain's Legal Support offers notary public, wedding officiant services, and blackline security for executive protection, residential security, and celebrity security, where we turn monitoring into action. So whatever your legal and security needs are, Cain's Legal Support is your concierge legal and protection services every step of the way. Contact Cain's Legal Support today at cainslegalsupport.com for personalized legal and security solutions that fit your needs.
Are you feeling stuck, repeating the same patterns in your relationships, your career, or even within yourself? What if the root of it all isn't what you think? Introducing the Beyond Mindset Session with clinical hypnotherapist Tisha Marie Cain. With over 2,000 clients served, Tisha guides you through a powerful 90-minute breakthrough session designed to uncover the true source of what's holding you back, release limiting beliefs, rewire how you see yourself. Plus, you'll receive personalized integration support with follow-up sessions, a daily alignment plan, and a full recording to reinforce your transformation. Imagine feeling lighter, more confident, free from the cycles that once defined you. This is your opportunity to step into a new version of yourself. Appointments are available in person in California and Las Vegas, and anywhere virtually. The Beyond Mindset Session with Tisha Marie Cain. Schedule your session today at tishamariecain.com.
And we're back. Welcome to Beyond Mindset Limits, where we go beyond surface level thinking and into real transformation. That kind that changes your life, your business, and who you become. I am your host, Tisha Marie Cain, and thank you for coming to the show today. So before our break here, we were talking about ethics, and I want to go into discernment when we get in these coaching rooms. Now, at the end of this, I'm going to give you a pathway to work one-on-one with me. You can go to www.Tisha, Tisha Marie Cain, CAIN.com to do one-on-one coaching. But I want to get through the material today because it's really important, because I'm really passionate about being ethical and congruent and aligned, and especially when we're holding rooms and holding space for others. So let's talk about congruence, because when you're choosing a coach or a mentor, a facilitator, even like a spiritual leader or a hypnotherapist, a trainer, anyone who's going to lead you into a deep transformation, you must pay attention to congruence. Congruence just doesn't mean perfection. Let me say that again. Congruence does not mean perfection. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. No coach is perfect. No leader, no room is perfect. But congruence means alignment. It means there is consistency between what someone teaches and how they live their life, how they treat people, and how they handle power, how they handle money, how they handle vulnerability, and how they respond when someone does not agree with their frame. A congruent leader does not need to dominate your interpretation of yourself. A congruent leader does not need to make you wrong in order for them to be right. A congruent leader does not need to use shame as a tool. A congruent leader does not make you disagree with them as proof of your dysfunction. A congruent leader does not bypass your critical factor and then call your confusion a breakthrough. A congruent leader can hold intensity without becoming evasive. And they can challenge you without reducing you. And they can see your patterns without stripping you of dignity. They can create a powerful room without making themselves the god of the room. And that's leadership. I've been in leadership since I was 19 years old. And probably even before that, because I remember in high school, I was president of FFA, right? Future Farmers of America, where they taught us how to do extemporaneous speaking and how to lead, rooms. So the God of the room. And I have been in coaching spaces where the man or the woman has thought that they are God. And I was like, huh. So I just stood back and watched and allowed everything to unfold and thought, okay, I'm done, right? Because I know what clear leadership looks like. And as we build ethical coaching companies, ethical transformation spaces, and ethical hypnotherapy practices, ethical spiritual communities, ethical personal development brands, this has to matter. Because when people come to us, they are trusting us with their stories. They're trusting us with their pain, with their dreams, with their subconscious. They're trusting us with parts of themselves that have not always been felt safe, especially in big rooms. And we have to honor that, right? As a clinical hypnotherapist, I bypass that critical faction of the brain in order to help my client arrive at their truth. And hypnotherapy is life-changing. Gone is the old, come on, let's be real. AI is going to be replacing everything here in the next couple years anyway. So gone is the old therapist, talk therapy, come in, let's talk about, why you're sad. No. Hypnotherapy, we go right into the subconscious mind, bring out your truth, bring it forward in one session, one and done. I don't have years. I don't have time. I don't have years to work through the pain. We all have pain. I need a quick cheat code to go in, rewire the subconscious mind, give that little girl what she needed back then, and let's keep on keeping on so that we can help humanity rise to new levels. This has to matter because when people come to us, they're trusting us, right? And we have to honor that. We have to be more interested in their truth than in our performance in the room. More interested in their freedom than our authority. More interested in their self-truth than their dependency on us. Right? This is what I say all the time. If I am doing my job right, I'm actually working myself out of a job. If you're coming to me, yes, I have clients who've had 18-month sessions, yes. And those clients have transformed every aspect of their life because they wanted to go in and do a micro look at each little facet of their life. And we transformed it. Yes, we did. But if I'm doing my job right, I am working myself out of a job. I don't need you coming back to me like 15 times. No, we don't need to do this. Let's get in here. Let's do the change work and let's keep going, right? So let's talk about high ticket rooms for a moment. There is nothing wrong with high ticket rooms. There's nothing wrong with high ticket coaching, right? And I believe in the high ticket comes, there's a bullseye. So if you can envision, if you're traveling down the highway here in Palm Springs, I know you're out there in LA, and you're hearing this across the globe. It's like a bullseye, right? So the bullseye is in the middle. That is the authority. That is the coach. That's the hypnotherapist. And then out from there is you get their coaching team. And then out from there, you get their corporation and out from there. So the closest you get to the bullseye, it gets to be, higher ticketing, right? I wouldn't say expensive because someone told me last week, Tisha, your prices are kind of expensive. And I said, compared to what, right? I can manage all of the objections. My prices are expensive compared to what? If I can transform your whole entire freaking life in one session, what would that be worth to you, right? So high ticket rooms, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with premium transformation. There's nothing wrong with investing in yourself. And I believe investing in proximity, mentorship, rooms, identity, capacity, expansion. And there's something that we need to be honest about. When a person is emotionally open, publicly challenged, and then invited into a very expensive program, the ethics of that process matter. The timing matters. The language matters. The pressure matters. The nervous system state matters. The person should be making a decision from clarity, not from shame. From sovereignty, not from emotional collapse. From alignment, not from fear or of missing out. From grounded desire, not from the need to prove they are healed. You know, when I walked into that coaching space, I'm completely open. I'm available for it all. My name is Tisha Marie Cain, and I am here to play a big game. So if there's anything in my blind spots that I don't see, I mean, truthfully, and I even hate using the word truthfully because I'm always honest, but to be completely transparent, if I can't see something, I normally flip it over to my husband and ask my husband for guidance because he's right in my inner circle, right? I'm like, hey, I'm feeling a certain way. What do you think this means? You know, what can you see that I'm not seeing, right? So I flip it over to someone that is closest to me because I love him and I trust him and I married him, right? So the reality is, if I can't see what's in there, I ask for someone close to me, and then I understand the power of the room. That's why last week, my whole segment on Beyond Mindset Limits was the power of the room. And I did that, and it was transformational. This time, it was a different transformation that I have ever experienced. What not to do, and it's perfect. There's no blaming. There's nothing outside of me. I had this experience for my own level growth, and it's great. But I'm talking to you today about discernment. Ethical rooms help you come home to yourself. That does not mean they're always comfortable. I walked in there open, right? Real transformation is not always comfortable. Sometimes it's confronting and emotional, and I saw that, right? I thought I had dealt with some things in the past, and maybe I had, or maybe it was all smokescreen and mirrors. I don't know. But all I know is on the onset of that container, I was mad. I was angry, and I couldn't ignore it. And I came home and I went through a whole notebook and journaled everything out and then said, oh, okay. Something felt off. I need to sleep on it. That didn't resonate with me, right? And then I started saying, my subconscious belongs to me. Was that a projection, or was that my own truth? Because your subconscious is not available for someone else's projection. If you got a good leader, they're opening you. They're asking questions, right? I think that's going to be my next book is good quality questions. Ask yourself the good quality questions, and then give you guys like 100 questions. If you ask yourself these questions and be completely vulnerable and honest and write them down in your journal, you're going to get there, and you don't have to spend another dime on coaches. Again, you see how I'm so congruent? Right here on this radio show, I'm already working myself out of a job again, putting the baton in your court, the ball in your court. I want you to come to your own truth, but that's why coaches need coaches sometimes, right? Because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. But when someone changes the frame, or someone narrows their frame down too much and doesn't look at the whole picture, she has hot pink nails and she's an attorney. What the heck, right? Not even once taking into consideration hot pink nails might be she's an artist and she has a way to express herself, right? I want to help you come to your own truth. Your pain is not available for someone else's performance. Your tears are not proof that they're right. Your anger is not proof that they're wrong. Your resistance is not always sabotage. And sometimes resistance is wisdom. Listen to that. I speak about wisdom, right? I had the Executive Wisdom Series radio show for a minute. And then I have the Wisdom of the Trees. I talk about wisdom all the time. And I think education and experience. So education plus experience equals the wisdom. And I have lived 1,000 lifetimes as this avatar, Tisha Marie Cain. And it hasn't always been rosy and beautiful like it is now. I had to go through some garbage. And I had to go through a coaching room where I wasn't aligned with too. So what was real for me could really come online. And I'm passionate about this. Sometimes resistance is the part of you that still shows the truth when the room is trying to convince you otherwise. And this is why discernment is so important. Discernment is not judgment, and it's not cynicism. It's not being closed. It's the ability to stay open without abandoning yourself. And here's what discernment says, right? So I had to noodle out on this for the whole freaking day to try to come and understand, or rather comprehend, why I was feeling so much anger. This is what discernment says. I can receive what is mine and reject what is not. I can honor the activation and reject the projection. I can learn from the room and still leave the frame. I can be grateful for the experience without agreeing with the interpretation. I can be open to my truth without surrendering authorship, right? Because nobody gets the pin to my life. And this is what my radio show is all about. This is Beyond Mindset Limits, because this is not surface level mindset work. This is not just positive thinking. This is identity level sovereignty. And I apologize for yelling at you right now. I laugh because I'm just, I hope you could feel my energy, right? This is subconscious integrity. This is leadership at the level of your nervous system. And I believe this is where the coaching industry has to go, right? We need rooms where people are safe to be powerful. If you go to a seminar, if you go to a coaching class, if you go to a retreat, do me a favor and Google or use AI to run the schematics of the person that is holding space. Just do that real quick, please. Do that for me, please. Because it's going to save you a world of time, money, right? So we need rooms where people are safe. We need rooms where people are safe to be challenged, and then they're safe to be able to cry and say no and disagree and have their own truth and be their own hero. Rooms where work is not about worshiping the leader, but awakening the person. So many rooms, it's like this worship of the leader. I'm like, what? No, it's not about the leader. And if the leader is congruent, if the leader is in integrity, if the leader has the highest amount of ethics, the leader is turning the pin over back to you. Rooms where the highest outcome is not dependency, but it's sovereignty. Rooms where people leave more connected to themselves, not less. And this is our future, you guys. This is our future. And guess what? You know why I'm so excited? I am on the ground floor leading rooms, helping people come into their own sovereignty, come into their own truth. This is the ground floor where we get to build back the new earth. We get to show people what it is to not just take their money and leave them empty, right? So I've seen rooms where people are emotionally cracked open and then sold to while they're still trying to find their center. It's disgusting. I've seen people told that their hesitation was fear. It's disgusting. That their discernment is resistance and their boundaries are blocked. I've seen where leaders have said, oh, you're blocked. Oh, you have no access to that. And I'm like, what? Right? And I'm saying no. No more. Not in the rooms I build, not in the work that I lead, not in the world where I am here to help create. Because when I build my own rooms, I want it to be different. I want the room to be powerful, yes. I want the room to be transformational, yes. I want the people to have breakthroughs, yes. I want the people to collapse timelines, yes. And I want to go beyond mindset limits with all of them, yes. And I also want it to be clean. And I want it to be ethical. And I want it to be congruent. And I want them to keep their own authority and have their own inner authority. I want it to be that way, and I will build that. I want people to know they can be seen without being reduced. I want people to know their subconscious will be honored, not evaded. Right? There's a power. There's so much power in being seen. That's why in coaching spaces, you're invited up to the front of the room. And those who are invited up to the front of the room normally have the biggest transformation because they have 100 people watching them, right? But it really puts the leader's ethics and integrity online. But if the leader is moving too quickly or out of congruence or ghostwriting the subconscious for the person and having everyone buy in by saying yes, 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 the power of words. I mean, come on, right? I want to know that my clients can be seen and not be reduced. I want them to come into their own stories. I want people to know that transformation is not about someone else's ghostwriting their wound. It's about them reclaiming the pen. And maybe this is the deepest lesson of all. Maybe this is why I'm so passionate about this topic today about discernment. It's because I'm an author. And I take full responsibility over my life. No one gets to rewrite or ghostwrite my subconscious. No one gets to take my external data points and make meaning of them. No one gets to tell you who you are without inviting your truth into the room. No one gets to make their interpretation more sacred than your inner knowing. And if they do, you are supposed to be able to feel it and come to it on your own. You are allowed to name it. You are allowed to leave. And you're allowed to take the gold and leave the rest. But today, I want to leave you with questions. Before you enter the room, I want you to ask, does this leader make me feel connected to myself? Right? Normally, I'm so in, so if you don't know anything about the clairs, so you have clairvoyance, clairsentient, claircognizant. If you don't know anything about the clairs, I would invite you to go and look out the clairs. Everyone has clair abilities, these psychic abilities, this intuition for those who are not woo-woo. But I teach beyond mindset limits. So I love all the woo-woo stuff and all the stuff. And I'm very grounded as well. But I know there are layers within layers within layers of this game called life. And I also did a radio segment on the game of life and how to win, right? I give you guys all the cheat codes because I love you. That's who I am. So when I tapped into my nervous system and I was able to bring my clairs fully online and my claircognizance online to be able to feel it out. Now I don't. Someone even told me once, oh, your gut's wrong. And I'm like, no, my gut is always right. Right. And so I was like, oh no. So I couldn't trust that person anymore. I'm like, okay, you're out of alignment. You're out of congruence. Anyone who tells me do not trust my gut is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Right. So once you come online and you bring discernment into your body and you can feel, close your eyes and shut your mouth and take a minute and feel. If someone's asking you for $100,000 and wire the money tomorrow, does that feel congruent to you? No. Or yes, it can be, right? I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it's important to know your truth. It's important to discern what is your truth. And when I got angry, that anger taught me something. And it was really interesting. I'm like, holy moly, this is anger. I haven't witnessed anger in a long time. And I was like, okay, I get to explore this. I get to be very vulnerable with myself in my journal right now and have everything come up about this anger. And boy, that is the reason why this show today is called Discernment, right? Because I want to, again, pass the baton back to you as a good coach, which I am. I have influence and credibility and authority in my space. I wrote Beyond Mindset Limits. It's the standard for CEOs and executives who refuse to be overlooked, undervalued, or forgotten. This book that I wrote a couple of weeks ago went #1 international best-selling author in 42 hours. Like, come on, I am the coach And that's why I speak so passionate about this, is making sure that ethics are on the line, making sure that when you step into these spaces, you know what you're getting yourself into. Or you know what's great is don't go alone. Always bring a buddy system. So your best friend, you can check it. Was that something that really happened? Is that true? Did you get out of that what I got out of that? Right? Because if you go alone, you're like, okay, you're only relying on your nervous system. And if you haven't reset your nervous system, then whoo, it's a lot, right? So take someone with you and say, okay, this was in alignment, or it wasn't, right? Do they honor your nervous system when you're in the room? Do they embody what they teach? Right? Do they embody what they teach? And stop and look around and see what you see. See what you see. Right? I was in a high level coaching container where they were making, I don't know, $1 million months. I don't even know. But they were making $1 million months. And yet they came in the room looking like crap. I'm like, huh. And that was weird. I kept like saying, you're making $1 million months. You're living in a $47 million home on California coast. And you come in looking like a homeless guy. I'm like, And I just sit there and I'm like, this is weird. This is incongruent. They're not congruent. And I couldn't get past it. I'm like, okay. Everyone had just invested, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to be in this room. And the leader comes in and he's not congruent. And I just said, wow, okay. But I wrote it down. I'm like, I need to investigate this. I got curious. What does this mean? Do they embody what they teach? Do they use emotional vulnerability responsibly? Right? Do I feel expanded or do I feel diminished? Right? So this is my stand. I'm not against coaching. I'm not against transformation. This is what I teach. I'm not against high ticket rooms. I'm not against deep transformational work, because this is the work that I do in my everyday life. I'm not against any of that. I believe this work with my whole heart. I believe we must raise the standard. I believe we must build ethical coaching companies. I believe we must lead congruent rooms, honor the subconscious, and understand what your truth is. And that's the difference. Commanding a room is powerful. Holding a room is responsibility. And the future belongs to leaders who can do both with integrity. So if you're listening today and you have ever left a room feeling confused, reduced, activated, or unsure, if this has ever happened to you and your truth was projected on, I want you to follow me. Go say me too. Sign up, get my newsletter today. You can reach me on all platforms, Tisha Marie Cain. Thank you for another episode of Beyond Mindset Limits. I am so grateful, and I hope to hear you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you for joining Tisha Marie Cain for Beyond Mindset Limits. Tune in every Wednesday at 4 p.m. as the conversation continues around mindset, legal insight, and publishing as a strategic tool for business positioning. Visit TishaMarieCain.com or CainsLegalSupport.com for more information or to schedule your private appointment.